marriage and then divorce. So
Mm.
yeah, so I want to know your feelings on that. Have you changed your mind since our interview? Because that was back in like October when we sat down.
So am I open?
Yes.
Uh yeah, I mean it's been a few months. I think I talked about that. So like yeah, like I'm open, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever happens type deal. But this time around I definitely want to be more intentional with how I move for sure.
Yes, yes. Now, there was a lot of back and forth about the comments about the whole idea that a lot of times some women, we tend to look at the potential of a man, and then men typically it's like how I met you is how I want to keep you. You
Mm-hmm.
had some people that were just like, "Oh, that's manipulation. That's not right. I've never experienced that." What's your take on that after seeing the feedback from that video?
I mean, my take is the same. I agree wholeheartedly. I feel like it definitely was times where I uh I wanted my partner to be the same. And like just hearing you said it, kind of made me feel bad because I remember specifically at times where my partner would say like yo, like I'm not that same girl, right?
Mhm.
Like and I think that probably had a big part of our downfall, like me looking at her as the same person or me wanting her to be the same person that I met her as and not allowing her to evolve, right? And in the
Right.
relationship. And I don't think that was something that I did consciously. I would hope
Yeah.
not, shit, because that's just not a nice person. But like you said, I feel like unconsciously I wanted that same person that I met. Like I wanted that same girl that I met. I wanted to be with that same person. But I mean, just being honest, like we all evolve, and it's not fair to try to pigeonhole somebody to who they were. You know what I'm trying to say? So I
Yeah.
agree. And so no matter, and I really don't be looking at the comments. I don't give a damn. So the comments can't change my mind. But yeah, when you said it, I was like, damn, like my partner was a victim of that, and I was a victim of that of my own thoughts, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah. I really believe, like, when we were sitting down talking today, obviously everything was real, it was raw. And as I was reflecting, as I even watched the interview back, because it had been a few weeks since we recorded it, and I was thinking about that, and I don't really think it's really manipulation. When I really had to sit back and think about even my situation, I think that the potential that I had, and I can only speak to what I experienced,
Mm-hmm.
the potential that I had in my mind was based off of what was told to me.
Mm.
So, and a lot of times we do talk about what we want to be, who we want to be. I knew going into my marriage that I wanted to be the best wife ever. I
Mm.
knew that I didn't want infidelity to be an issue because I grew up with that. So, in my mind, I was like, I believe it's possible to be with one person. I believe it's possible to be in a relationship that is healthy with, no stepping out. And I said, I'm going to be the best wife. I'm going to be loyal. I'm going to be down. I knew exactly the type of wife that I wanted to be. I knew what I wanted to bring to the table. I knew I wanted to have children. I knew I wanted to be an incredible mom, hands-on. And I was already the type of person that was just like, I was such a people pleaser that I want to make sure that you don't have to want for anything, like
Mm.
spoil you, like completely. So I knew what I wanted to be as a wife. Now, when I talk about potential, when I go deeper into it, it is those conversations that when it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be this type of man, I'm gonna be this type of husband, so it's like, I don't think that it was all fanatical on my part. I do believe that some parts of it was also just me basically like, okay, I believe what you're saying. And then sometimes life happens, and then maybe you aren't able to step up, or maybe you aren't able to be the person that you thought you would be in a relationship. Maybe you didn't realize how tough it would be, to be vulnerable once you become a husband or once you become a wife, and then things begin to change. So do you think that there was anything that you went into the marriage with where it was something that you had almost like an ideology, like an idea, like I want to be this way, and you weren't able to be that? Or what's your thoughts on that? Or were you everything that you basically, it's like, this is the type of husband I want to be, and I am that, and I was that, but maybe things just kind of shifted?
No, I don't think so. What I can say is I did battle, and I still battle with this. I battle with wanting to be the person that I'm eventually going to be,
Right.
right now, if that makes sense. So a
Okay.
lot of times we see this person, we see the end goal us, right? And sometimes we see ourselves as that person, but the world don't see us as that person just yet. And a lot of times they don't see us as that person just yet because we're just not that person just yet. That's just who we want to be, and that's who we were working towards being. So, for example, I say like when we first got in a relationship, I was 26. I still was young. I
Yeah.
didn't know that I didn't know how hard it was going to be to step into like being a stepfather. Right? I didn't know how hard it was going to be to be a father. Like I didn't even understand what that was, but I know I love this woman and it's like this is something that I want right now, but I wasn't even thinking about further down the line. You get what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
know I want to be this great man that stand for something, and that's who I am at the core, at the heart, but I didn't know the work that it took to be that person. So a
Got
lot of times I failed at just regular things. I'll never forget. I remember it was a time where I thought if I was faithful in the relationship, then I would have the perfect relationship. I
you. Okay.
really thought this at one point in time. And oh, how foolish I was, because that's the bare minimum. That's just the starting point. That don't have it's so many other things that happens in relationships outside of just being faithful to somebody, right? But I
Yeah.
didn't understand these things. So I don't think that I over promised and under delivered, basically what we're saying. Like I didn't think I made promises of being somebody that I wasn't. I think I was exactly who I wanted to be and who I am. It's just a
Mhm.
lot of times I didn't understand the work that it took to be that person. Like
Yeah.
even just being straight up, right? Like being faithful, right? I think that was something that I struggled with early on. Not saying that I cheated a lot, you know what I'm saying, or I cheated. It just I didn't understand how hard that would be, especially in the position that I was in, if that makes sense. So
Got you.
now I might be looking for validation when my partner might not be willing to give validation because they might not see it from my lens. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I want, because look what I just did. I just went to the
Yeah.
club. I just hosted. I had 10 girls on me, and I didn't say and I said no to everybody. Look at me. Like give me that validation
You
when
want reassurance.
exactly that reassurance when I wasn't able to articulate from the beginning that was hard for me because I didn't know it was gonna be hard.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So now we
Yeah.
get into these these small fights that become larger fights because I want something that I wasn't able to articulate that I want. So how can I expect you to give me something that I didn't tell you that I want, that I needed? You get what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say? So I don't think that it was a lot of problems that I had for sure, but I don't think me saying that I was going to be somebody that I wasn't, I don't think that was one. I just
Okay.
think that one of them was just not understanding what it took to be in that position that I assumed or that I acquired to be.
I got you. Because I mean, life changes and you grow and you don't realize what kind of struggles might come up along the way. I
Mhm.
know, like early on with me. So when me and my ex got married, we ended up getting pregnant 2 months after, and we were
Sheesh.
planning on waiting 2 years.
Mhm.
So we had just moved to Alabama. Everything had changed, and now all of a sudden I'm pregnant. And we were having some of the worst arguments of our entire relationship. We were together 6 years. And once we got married, I mean, we had some of the worst arguments to the
Mhm.
point where we actually sat down with my ex's goddad in Atlanta. We actually went to Atlanta, sat down with him because I remember him looking at me like, look, we could just get this marriage annulled.
Mm.
And it was like I had so much expectation. I had so much. I went, I think one of the biggest things for me that I didn't think would be an issue was that I was always like one of the homies. Like I was like one of them cool chicks that like I I I was silly. I was real goofy. I like having fun. Like I wasn't like your typical girl. I was raised as a tomboy. You know, I was like a
Mhm.
tomboy growing up. So that actually created the perfect situation for me and my ex because we got along so well as friends. It was like he was hanging out like with one of his homeboys, but it was me, you know? So whereas he wasn't the type of dude that had a lot of female friends that he just wanted to like hang out with like that. So it was new. And then I wasn't interested in getting married at the time because my parents had just gotten divorced. So
Mhm.
my mindset was just like, I'm just having fun. But it just got to a point where once we got married, I just expected this switch to turn on. And I thought that all of a sudden, all of the romance that I was giving, because I'm very flirtatious, I'm very like, I know how to say I love you 10,000 different ways. Like, I like to write letters. I like to write poetry. Like I'm really like deep when it comes to being like intimate and romantic. So I'm expecting like, oh, we're married now. Now I'll get that in return and we can do that with each other. But it seemed like it was just one of those situations where it was like that was too much, you know? So I started like toning myself down, but I kept getting frustrated because I was trying to force him to be something that he never was. And for whatever reason in my mind, I just thought after we got married, it would change, which was, it's crazy looking back on it. But when you're going through it, you don't think of it like that. You just think that I'm giving this type of love, so it's going to be reciprocated, right? So I don't know. I just feel like when I look back on it now, it's like it's so obvious. It's so clear to me. It's like that was silly as hell.
If I can be honest, man, I feel like, and I said this before, I feel like we all are so much more similar than we like to give ourselves credit for.
Mm,
Like, even I'm listening to like the problems that she was going through, the same thing I was going through, right? Like I felt like I wanted her to be me in a sense, and she wanted me to be her in a sense, right? Like
yeah,
it's like I need you to love me like this. She needed me to love her like this. Oh, I can't give you that love, and I need you to appreciate the love that I can give you. But I feel like I hear that so much across the board when it comes to relationships, and I don't know if she would agree with this, but I don't like the notion of like failed relationships. Like I think you know how they say people are in your life for like a reason and a season. I
yeah,
feel like we had our season and it was great. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we had some bumpy roads, but like we got a great daughter from it. Oh shit, my I have a bonus daughter from it. I love both of them to death.
yeah,
And like that was a great time of my life that like it opened up so many doors. It opened up a new way of thinking. You get what I'm saying? So I don't want people to look at relationships that don't work as like it failed. You know what I'm saying? If anything,
yeah.
I'm like, bro, that was success. 6.5 years, almost 7 years. That was a successful relationship.
Yep.
Yeah, it ain't go a lifetime like what we might be. I can't even say used to because I don't know when the last time I seen a lifetime relationship. To be honest, I mean,
Yeah.
my grandparents, and even when you hear about your grandparents talking about it, it was so toxic that shit. I'm glad we did get out of that situation for our kids. To be real, right? So
Yeah.
I say that to say like I don't want to discourage people, but at the same time give an understanding of like, bro, I think that was a success, and from what we learned from it. But I say all that to say, I feel like we gotta stop having like these expectations on people because I feel like men are men. So the next man, and I'm not trying to discourage you, but I feel like the next man you meet that might be your husband, I'm pretty sure it's going to be like similar issues. It might not be the same because like
Right.
y'all had to think about it. And this is what be unfair to me. Like y'all was in a relationship for years. How long y'all was together?
Including dating 16 years.
16 years. Think about all of the built up things that got on your nerves, all of the built up things that got on his nerves. So towards the end, it's going to be hard to have grace for somebody that you've seen the worst of. Like y'all went through thick and thin, heaven and hell. Y'all went through everything together. And the unfortunate part about it that I don't like, that's sad, that's this discouraging to me is
Mhm.
the fact that we can go together for so long, we can be with each other for so long, and yeah, you seen the worst of me, but that be the thing that be the reason why you don't give me grace. Because think about it, when y'all first met, you probably thought that was your Superman, that was your superhero.
Yeah.
He's you get what I'm saying? Like that's how we look at it. But then you start to learn who people are, and you start to see that we are human, and then we start to judge and we start to not like them for whatever. I say all that to say, the next person you get with, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the same thing. You're gonna want him to love you in a certain way that you love him, but it's just not in our nature. That's not who we are as men. That's
Mhm.
what I want from you might not be who you are as a woman, if that makes sense. And I'm not trying to
Right.
ramble, but it's like it just seems like it's an ongoing, like we hear these conversations about men and women, and it's this fucking who's to blame, and it gets so exhausting because it's like, God damn, can we just get along? But to be honest, it's like, bro, we just need to accept that we're different. And the moment I can accept you for you, right?
Right.
No matter
Right.
what else, like have no expectations, I accept you for you. That's when we can really have success in our relationships in long term, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? I was just about to ask you, do you think it's possible to be with someone or attract someone that naturally does the things that you enjoy, that make you feel love? And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think it is possible
Mhm,
because like the topic, you are who you attract.
mhm,
Like you attract who you are. And at the end of the day, I feel like once you start to learn yourself more, and once you start to understand who you are, the people that typically you would look at and be like, huh, let me give that a shot. Or maybe you even force it for a little bit. I think you'll start to say, yeah, nah, I don't think so. You'll see the red flags like way sooner. I feel like honestly, if I had paid better attention, there, and like I said, you attract who you are. At the time that me and my ex were together, he was exactly what I needed during that time period, and I was exactly what he needed at that time. And it's funny because even back then, we would talk about how I would laugh at him. I would tell him, I was like, yo, I feel like I lived my whole life for you at that point, because the things that he was going through within his business, within his family, off the field issues, because he played in the NFL, all that. But the things that he was going through, I had some knowledge in. And it was like the perfect marriage in itself before we even got married. It was like I stepped in and he stepped in for me. In the areas that I really needed some help, he was there for me. In the areas he needed some help, I was there for him. So I see why we attracted each other. And I feel like the whole goal is, like you said, there's no failed marriage, because I think the whole goal is to grow, is to learn how to be better. And then sometimes I feel like people kind of get past that expiration date and they get mad it doesn't work out. Maybe we weren't meant to stay together the whole time. Maybe we were only meant to get each other to a certain point, and then we decided to take it a different route, get married, have kids, all of that. Maybe we were supposed to have kids. Maybe we weren't meant to be married. You'll never know. But everything that I needed and everything that he needed, we were for each other during that time period. And I don't hold any bitterness or resentment towards him, because I get it now. I look at me and I look at what I needed to grow, and I look at even what he needed to grow. And I feel like we were that for each other. And I'm grateful for that, because I don't think that anybody could have taught me the lessons that I needed to learn to be where I am right now, but him, the type of person that he is.
That's so true, man. Even like outside of it, because again, like, we gonna be real here. Like, things happen for us to separate, right? Both of us. But outside of those things, right? Because that was full of emotion. Outside of those things, if you look at it from like deeper than surface level, we understand that like you said, man, it was so many things in a relationship that helped me grow as a man, as a person. You got to be grateful for that, right? Like, yeah, we bumped heads and things like that, but bro, like, what, like you said, if it wasn't for that relationship, who knows? I probably wouldn't think the way I think now. I probably wouldn't be where I am now, and I'm definitely grateful for that. And I just wish, just as I don't want to call myself a empath, but like somebody that like I'm big on my name and my word, right? I feel like when I was young, my mom's always told me, as a man, you only got your name and your word, right? That's all you got, like your name and your word. So somebody that's big on my name, sometimes it can look like I'm trying to please people when I'm not. I just care about my name and what people say about me. As somebody who thinks like that, again, the most hurtful part for me is just not being on good terms with somebody, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, if we could go through that and learn it and be like, yo, let's shake hands and be like, you know what, it ain't work out. All right, bet, cool. Let's just that would be amazing. That would be dope. It'd just be like, man, I don't know if I want to go through that again. Like, the thin line, I think I said, is the thin line between love and hate is the thing that really be scaring me away from another relationship, because it's like, how soon or how easy can it go from, oh my God, my man, to I can't stand this nigga. That hurt the worst. That's the part that hurt the worst. It's like, I don't like that, man. Like, that do something to me. Like, wait, like, damn, like, you mean to tell me it was love a few months ago, now it's hate? Like, God damn.
But no, you just got to keep healing. You know why? Because you get to a point where I read this quote one time and it said, you know, you've healed when you don't mind being a villain in someone else's story. And that's where I am right now.
You know, it's funny. It's because that's not even like, relationship aside, anybody that say that about me, I'd be like, wait, what? Like, I don't, like, if I have a friend that I do everything for, like, because I didn't felt like this recently. Like, I'm looking for reciprocation in every aspect of my friendships, not even just intimate. Like, even if we're like platonic friends, it's like, I want somebody to love me the way I love them. I ain't gonna lie to you. And maybe I need to heal from that, because I understand when Cardi B made a song not too long ago. I was in a relationship. I might have overlooked the lyrics. She said, be careful with me. I understand what she meant now.
Yeah.
Even in my friendships, it's like, nah, homie, my homie, you gotta be careful with me. Because like my love, it runs deep. So even if you're a friend outside of a intimate relationship, I do things for my friends that I would love for somebody to do for me. So it's like if I can do so much for somebody and they can look at me and just treat me foul, again, not saying my relationship was like that, but I'm saying like, and they can treat me any way other than how I treat them, it'd be confusing to me. I'd be like, I don't understand that.
Yeah. But what is it? What do you think it's trying to teach you? Do you have boundaries? Do you lack boundaries?
Yeah,
Are
for
they
sure.
strong?
Yeah. I definitely
Right.
lack boundaries for
It's a
sure.
lesson there. And you gotta remember that people's perception of you has nothing to do with you. Their perception of you is based on their own life experience.
That's a
Our
fact.
world is our world. Like what happens in my life is all me. What happens in your life is all you. I only can talk to you and make a judgment or project or anything based on what I've gone through, based on my own life. Everybody's world is their own. That's why it's funny when I enjoy reading the comments when I do interviews and things like that. Sometimes not right away, but I do tend to get around to it because I want to see like what areas could I speak on better or where can I provide more clarity, right? But when you see how many people really got the message and they're like, yes, I get it, I've been there. And then you see the complete opposite of people who have never experienced that. And they're like, y'all talking some bullshit. This ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I'm looking at those people and I'm like, man, y'all better be grateful that y'all ain't have to go down this path, Clearly you went down a road in life. Maybe you had a different upbringing. Maybe your parents taught you to self-love better than what I learned. But at the end of the day, there's no wrong for real. It's just based on your perspective. It's based on your experience. And if a person can look at you and say foul things about you, most times they're projecting things that they don't like about themselves. Most times it has nothing to do with you. You're just pushing them to see a part of themselves that either they haven't learned yet, they want to become better at, they're envious of. It could be so many different things, but a lot of times what people think about us has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with them. Yeah.
That's facts. I like that.
Yeah. It's some real stuff. And it really does take a lot because it's all about the healing journey. And that's why I always say it goes back to you. It goes back to self. If you have people in your life that you bend over backwards for and you do, like you literally put your heart on the table for them and they don't do that for you, they're teaching you something. They're teaching you to create a boundary because there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. You're never too much for the right person. So at the end of the day, who you are is fine. It's just that those people don't deserve you to be that for them.
And that's the part that hurt the most because it's like, I love my friends. Like I don't want to love you with no constraints. Like I don't want to. Like I was thinking not too long ago. It's like energy is so real, and I'm learning. I used to joke about this like when I was younger, like energy. But I'm learning that is so real. Because think about it. Let's say you meet somebody, and like you texting them, and they texting you right back. So like naturally, you want to text them fast as possible because y'all texting.
Yeah.
Let's say they start taking long to text you. Now subconsciously, it's like, well, I don't want to seem pressed, so I'm gonna take. If they took 10 minutes, let me take 10 minutes. I'm gonna take.
That's me.
I don't want to, bro. Like
that's me all day.
But I don't want to be like that. Like I don't want to think that hard. It's like if you my friend, you my dog. Like I don't want to be like, man, I done covered the tab 100 times. Like let me see if you going. I don't want to love you with constraints, man. So it's like, yo, just be careful with me. And I know it might sound crazy from a man, but it's like, bro, like, nah, man, I need you to like be careful with my feelings because like once you hurt my feelings, then I go to a place that I don't want to go. And I know I need to heal from that too, but listen, we all ain't
nothing wrong with that. Listen, I'm a Libra. So Librans are known. When you get us to a point, listen, ain't no turning back. That's one thing about me. That's why, like, even on social media, people call me the unbothered queen. Because when I have been done wrong, or if I felt like I've been done wrong, I have no problem letting you go. It might take me 1,000 times to bump into that wall and to really get it. But when I'm done, I'm done. Like that's the one thing that I will say I've improved with is not even letting myself get to that point of being done. Just kind of like reading people and just putting them into their proper place. Like, okay, I can see me being really good friends with this person. Or I don't see this going anywhere. I don't like how, like you said, how they don't respond or how they don't if they're not considerate. There's certain things, and we talked about this in the interview that you and I did at your studio. There are certain things that are just like must-haves, and there are certain things that I'm just like not going to deal with.
What's
And
a must-have?
my must-have, you got to consider me. You got to consider
What
me.
does consideration look like to you, though?
Consideration looks like you making sure I'm good. It like in the way that I make sure that a person is good. So just simple stuff like opening the door,
Okay.
like simple stuff, simple considerate stuff that a person typically doesn't think is a big deal. Like if you open my door, I'm gonna get in the car and I'm gonna open yours. Like I just feel like it's simple. If it's my birthday, hey, happy birthday. Just being considerate. Hey, did you land safe? You know, I know you're about to take off today. Just knowing like I'm on your mind. And then if I'm texting you and you take 12 hours to text back, clearly I'm not that important to you. So I'm going to fall back. Like I don't want to feel like I am pushing myself on anyone, whether that's in a relationship or a friendship. If I constantly push myself on you, I'm going to fall back because you're not considering me the way I consider you. If you call on me, I'm right there. I'm ready for you. No matter what I have going on, I'm looking out and I'm making sure you're good. I follow through. I'm big on words. I'm big on following my words. You know, I'm big on action. So like there's so many must-haves. Consideration is definitely top. Being a person of your word and actually putting action behind your words. I don't believe what people say anymore. I believe what you do.
Facts.
So I'm at a different place right now. You can tell me all day until you're blue in the face that this is what you intend to do. This is what you want to do. This is who you want to be. If you're not being it, then I'm going to take you for your actions. I'm not taking you for your words, you know?
Facts. 100%.
So,
I'm with you.
yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. So I don't know. What is some of your what are some of your must-haves?
Yo, so I've been looking at I've been looking at these love language things, and I think me is like acts of service and what are the 5 again? I'm new to this, man. Help me out.
The 5 love languages. It's funny. I got the book right in my library. Words of affirmation, acts
No.
of service, physical
Yes.
touch,
Time. There we go.
quality time.
Some quality time and acts of service. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because I'm the type of person that's like, no matter what I'm doing, if it's again, I'm just talking about friendships right now, platonic friendships. Like I'm the type that if you my homie, like I will take my whole workstation over your crib just to kick it with you. You get what I'm saying? Like like that's type person I am. So especially in my love life is like, bro, I want you to go everywhere I'm at. Like if I'm at work, you could come with me. I might not can't take you out right now to dinner, but if I'm working, come with me to show you that I care. You know what I'm saying? I'm showing my affection that way. Also acts of service because I ain't gonna lie to you. Like if you got something going, if you got some not even motion, if you got an idea, something that you love to do, I'm the type that's gonna put it together and help you get it done. You get what I'm saying? So it's like I want that reciprocation. Like if you see me, I don't know, if you see me working, I'm busy, and I say I'm not organized, be my assistant.
Right.
You feel me? Like things like that is what really turns me on, and like that gets me going. Like acts of service because I'm a act of service you to death. Even if I ain't got the money to spend on you, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna get some things done. If you whatever you like, I'm gonna show you interest in it. You feel me? If you got a pop-up shop, I'm gonna be the one wearing your shirt like I'm your employee. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I am. So like I think my what I need is like it's really reciprocation. But that's what I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you acts of service and I'm gonna give you quality time. I just want to be reciprocated. That's it.
Yeah. I feel like to sum it up, fit me in your world. It's like that was like even in my marriage, that was even in my dating years, that was one of my biggest things. It's like if you can't fit me in your world, then what are we doing? Like you're never too busy when you really want to be with somebody. Like you fit me in your world. It could be something as simple as like, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. I'm taking a break. You want to ride with me? It can be like, however, fit me in your world. Because I don't want to. Yeah.
Are you big on somebody making it feel special for you? Like for example, like one thing that I used to hear is like I would do that anyway, no matter what. Like I'm gonna do that because I want to do that.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Are you big on like it having to be done because it's you?
It's a combination for me. Because like it's funny. I used to actually have this conversation with my ex. There were certain things that I was like, yo, you would be doing this regardless if it were me or another chick. Like if you're like you paying your like, so for instance, I was the business manager. I handled all the bills. He paid them, but I would handle all the bills. So when he would say things like, well, you got this nice house, you got this, that, you drive this car. And I'm like, yeah, but those are your things. And someone else would be driving those cars and living in that house too, because you have to live here. So it's like, that's not necessarily you doing it for me. That's you including me in your world. So I feel like it's twofold. Now, if you are doing something that is separate for me, like for instance, I love going to ballets. I want to go to an opera. I like stuff like that. That's stuff that my ex wasn't into, so if you aren't into that and you're like, hey, I found tickets to this opera, I want to take you. I know that's specifically for me. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I actually need. I'm just using it as an example. Okay. I'm simple. Like if you just like, look, like we used to go fishing all the time. I enjoy fishing. He enjoyed fishing. Hey, I found this spot that we can fish at. Like, just include me into what you have going on. And then you can make me feel special just by having a conversation. But for me, my love language is physical touch and quality time for sure. Yeah. Because I was raised very affectionate. Like me and my family, we're with the I love yous, we're with the hugs and the kisses and my kids, literally, they will say, Mommy, can we have cuddle time? They don't need to like have anything on the TV or us need to be doing anything. My kids will literally grab their blankets and we will sit on the couch and we'll all just lay up under each other. Like I got Christopher on my right, Melania on my left, Chase on my lap, and we literally just sit there and we talk. They just want to cuddle. So that's kind of like how I am. It's so funny. So when times were good, they were good, but there were always these funny little moments that would happen in my past relationship where it was funny, but it was telling. So like we had this couch that was literally like 10 feet long. Like this couch was long as I don't know what. And we would sit down to watch whatever's on TV. He would be on one end and I would get on the couch and I would get right up under him and just be looking at the TV like it was nothing. And he would look at me and be like, you got this whole couch right here. Why are you like right here? And I'm like, what? What's wrong with that? Like, what do you mean? I want to cuddle. But it's funny because I feel like that's the growth too. And that's the beauty of relationship is a lot of the affection that I grew up with in my house wasn't something that he had when he was growing up. So it was something that later on became something that was a requirement for him, So, you have moments where you can see like where, yeah, I grew here or I learned this from that person. They learned this from me. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's always success as long as you see it as growth. But it does suck when you know that you've put in your all for something and the people or the person can only focus on what they think you did wrong or whatever will keep them in that anger and frustration just because it's like, yeah, maybe you didn't want the relationship to end. So now all you're doing is focusing on, and then it's like they make it like it was the entire relationship.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's the unfair part. Cause it's like I'm not going to sit here and I've been trying to be as accountable as possible. Anytime I'm doing interviews, anytime I'm talking about the relationship, whether it's publicly or whether it's privately, I always say, like, I can see the areas where I was a bit much. I can see where I've grown. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to make that like that was the entire marriage. Some of the things and some of the issues were consistent. Like we would go to marriage counseling and it'd be the same complaints every time. But it wasn't the entire marriage. It wasn't all bad. But everybody has their must-haves. And you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I feel as though we would be better off if we just let this go because we have these kids watching us. I want to make sure they have a good example and I want to break any generational curses that could possibly develop.
And I think that's probably the most mature thing that somebody can do because like taking away your personal feelings for somebody and that personal want or desire to control a situation and be like, yo, let's just go separate for the sake of kids.
Yeah.
Man, I ain't never think I was gonna be adulting like that. Like that's special. Like I don't care. No matter, we can say whatever we want. She can say what she want. I can say what I want. But that right there was probably one of the dopest things that I've seen us do as adults. I'm gonna be real, because it was like, man, for the sake of the kids, bro. Like, bro, this is. I know she was tired. I was tired, but from the conversation, I don't know what she's thinking, but I know from the one of the conversations that we had, one of the reasons was for the sake of the kids. You get what I'm saying? It's like, yo, like,
Yeah.
bro, what are we doing? Like, come on, like, yeah, we love each other, but what are we doing? This is toxic. Like, we got kids. We don't want our kids to grow up and see this, because then they gonna want that love. And I don't care what nobody say; they can judge it, but I think that's one of the dopest things that people can do. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we maybe we should have been did it. Maybe we shouldn't have had whatever. But
Right.
the fact that we can be like, you know what, man, because that's hard. You know, I mean, people out here who are just fighting to stay with somebody that's just not working, and in return is turning into toxic environments. Is like people are getting killed like that. You feel me? Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that I thought, to me, that was one of the things that was like one of the dopest moments that I've seen. Even though I like, of course, I would have wished it went other ways, but like that was dope. Like that was fire. Like, man, look at that. Like, look at us.
Yeah. No, clap it up for real, because a lot of people can't get there.
Nah,
You know.
facts.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think people need to realize too, your children. You know what I can't stand? I can't stand when people say to me, you know, now your kids, you know, have a broken home. No, the home was broken.
Mm-hmm.
It was already broken. They were living in a broken home. They were living in dysfunction. You know, it may not have been blatant and crazy, abusive, and just like chaotic, but kids can pick up on energy. They read energy better than adults.
Yo, so one of the conversations that I was having, and I'm pretty sure she probably was too, like towards the end, was to other friends who was in relationships. I mean, who was in 2-parent households that hated it. I never.
Me.
So listen. So the world is so crazy, and I remember in the beginning I started by saying we're more similar than we are different.
Mm-hmm.
But our country has a tend to try to divide us, right?
Yeah.
So I remember a time where, because I was growing up in a single parent household, I thought anybody that lived in a 2-parent household had it made. That's just what I didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, man, you live in a 2-parent household, you good, or you live in a 2-parent household, you got money, you live in a 2-parent household. How dare you, right? So more so recently, like 7-8 months ago, right? I'm having conversations with friends who was raised in a 2-parent household, and they was like, man, they wish that their parents would have got divorced. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want my kids to feel like that. They like, man, it was so toxic there that I like that they almost felt like it was worse being in a 2-parent household like that than being in a single parent household. And I'm like, look at me judging situations for things I don't know. I say that to say people only judge situations to say, like, look at it as a broken home, because they don't know. They only can speak on as far as their mind has traveled. And because I understand that now, I understand the statements, but it's like, again, like you said, I pray you never have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because you can only speak on that because you have no idea what they're like. To be honest, our family is probably more whole now than it was before.
That part.
My kids are probably more healthier now than they were before. Like, you have no idea. So a lot of these single people, or people, see things on the internet and they want to spirit on to other people, and they have no idea. Like, you're judging some things from shit you've seen on the Cosby Show.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're talking about, like, it be so many conversations out here that just be like unnecessary. It's like, bro, you have no idea. Like, you just judging something from what you hear or see on the internet. And it's like, boy, that's the furthest thing away from the truth than you could know.
Yeah. It's crazy. I feel like, as a single woman, when it comes to my children now, I feel like I'm a way better mom now than I was when I was in my marriage, because now they don't get the frustrated me unless I'm frustrated at them. You know, like, unless they're doing something that's off the chain. But my daughter even said, she was like, Mommy, I noticed that you don't even like raise your voice as much as you used to, because it's like, now you're trying to parent in dysfunction. You're frustrated, you're aggravated, and now your kids are getting the brunt of it. And you don't even realize it. It's not even like you're doing it intentionally. And it's also, if you grew up that way. I grew up in a household where there was a lot of yelling. So for me, raising my voice was normal. That was just like arguments. That was normal. That wasn't, I didn't look at it as a big deal. It was funny because in my past marriage, I always said divorce was not an option. I always said that because I really believed that whatever we were going through wasn't really that big a deal because, well, I dealt with it when I was growing up. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 21, 22, somewhere around that age. So I was already grown and out the house. And I had my own idea of what their marriage was growing up. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. And it really wasn't until I started going through, you know, my healing journey that I started realizing that a lot of what I thought was normal when I was growing up wasn't normal. You know, but when I was in it, it wasn't nothing wrong with it, you know? So,
Yo, let me
yeah.
ask you this. I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I got another question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, because you did radio too.
Yes.
How do you feel about the state of like the conversations around relationships now?
Oof. I have mixed thoughts because I feel like relationships in some regards are becoming so transactional. You know, it's like if we're in a relationship, you have to do this because you're the man and you have to do this because you're the woman. When I never looked at relationships like that. I don't think that there should be so many gender roles applied to certain things if you're good at, you know, something in particular that your spouse may not be good at. But what I do believe is that if a man, because I'm a woman, if a man is treating me right emotionally and caring for me emotionally, on that spiritual, on that energetic level, it does allow me to bark less. It allows me to be soft. It allows me to want to talk to you nicer. I have no reason to get snappy because you're taking care of me emotionally. And I think that's what the problem is that there's a lot of women out here who are young and they believe that if you're paying my bills and you're providing for me financially, that's all I need and I'm okay. And then once they get that and they're still barking, then they're just like, well, what's the problem? I'm paying all your bills. I'm doing all of this. I'm doing all of that. I was in a marriage where I had a husband that paid for everything and I needed more emotionally. I needed more vulnerability. Now, for me, it was never a requirement. Like I didn't require a man that had money. That wasn't my goal when I met my ex-husband. It wasn't something that I was looking for. It wasn't something that I was wishing for. I knew people who was like straight up on the prowl, you know, and I never operated that way because I really believe that I'm going to be successful regardless. You know, I don't mind working. I don't mind hustling. But I feel like because it's such a requirement for people these days, where if I'm gonna be with this man, he has to take care of me. I just don't think that it's necessarily fair because if I'm a woman and I'm making really good money and I meet a guy who is treating me right in every sense of the word, I mean, everything. And I'm going to look at that man and devalue him because he doesn't make as much money as me. Like, I just feel like, not me personally. I don't think it's that serious. And that's because of my values and what I know I need. But I do understand that people, when they don't have or they haven't experienced it, they think it's so much bigger than what it actually is. Money doesn't buy happiness. At the end of the day, if you have a lot of rich people that would actually be happy, you have a lot of rich people who are miserable because you still have to have purpose. You still have to have you have to have what really makes the inner you feel successful, you know?
Another question. I'm sorry, I got 1,000 questions.
Yeah.
Do you think that a man genetically can be there emotionally, like be emotionally in a place to love you how you need to be loved as a woman?
I believe yes, if he's a good listener. And I don't think that he has to be the same as me. I think that he just has to be open. I think that he has to be open-minded enough to know like, oh, maybe she's having a bad day because of this stressor or that stressor. Have a little patience, you know? And I feel like that goes on both parts, you know, because I do understand men typically will stay in their head about things. They don't typically express what's really going on. They think about it, and they want to have a plan so that they can figure it out and fix it. Like men are fixers. They're physical. They like to have things done. They like to do it. Most men anyway, not all men. And then for women, we like to talk about it. So talking for us is healing. For men, they hold it in. until they're able to let it out. So it's like, I feel like if you get to know a person well enough and you really, really learn them, like I'm like, I call myself the research queen. If I'm with somebody, I am trying to learn you so good that I will know what you need before you even think about it. Like that's how in tuned I am when it comes to relationships, you know? So if I can see that something is off with you and something is like, all right, something's up, even if you don't want to tell me, I know I can be a little softer so that I'm like being courteous, you know, like, all right, something's going on. He ain't ready to talk about it yet. So let me not add to it. Let me not start barking and doing this, that, and the other and adding to what I can clearly see something's up. And I feel like if we actually paid more attention to the persons that we're with, I feel like a lot of relationships would be successful, because what happens is we're paying attention to the needs that we have, and we're wanting our needs met. But we're so out of touch with who we're with that we can't even tell that right now they really need a hug, or something's going on in their life that we really just need to like put ourselves on the back burner just for a second and say, hey, what's up with you? And just ask the question. I feel like those are the successful relationships, when people are like really in tune with each other.
I still think that's very much of a woman answer, though.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
because nah, yeah, like, but you make sense, and I'm trying to I'm trying to understand it. You make sense. I just I'm trying to see if it's ever a space where a man can truly live in that day to day. And I say that because I'm always taught and reminded that how I feel doesn't matter.
Mm,
That's my day to day life as a man, as a protector, as a provider. I can't chill. It doesn't matter. I got to get it done. So unconsciously, right?
mhm.
And I'm not saying this to be, no, I'm not saying this as an excuse, and not saying that men can't do better when it comes to our emotions, but unconsciously, because I have to treat myself like that, how do
Yeah.
you think I'm gonna treat the woman that I'm with or the person that I'm with? Because it's like, yo, I can't have grace. I can't have a moment. I can't, and my mind is how I look at it. Because the
Mm,
moment I stop working, bills keep going. You literally die. The moment I stop, everything stops around me. So in return, if I'm talking to my woman and I don't know, she might be having a bad day, but she's not communicating this with me. Unconsciously, I don't have the patience to be like, oh, she needs a hug. I just know you're having a bad day, you're taking it out on me. And
okay.
in my world, I can't do that, because the moment I do that, I lose a job. I get killed by the police. I get arrested. I get killed by a nigga on the street. I can't do that. I can't
Yeah.
allow my emotions to feel how I act in a moment. So it's a mixture of both. So it's like, I understand what you're saying. I
Yeah.
just don't think is a space where men have that luxury to be able to think like that.
I feel like that's the benefit of having a safe home, though. Like if you're with the right one, I feel like that woman is supposed to provide you that safety. I feel like, in
Mm.
regardless, if you even if you're not in a relationship, I feel like that is the importance of having a safe home. Like when I come home now, I come home and when I tell you I can completely let down my guard, and guess what? Ain't no dude about to be up in here that's not going to add to that. Like
Mm.
you can't come up in my space if you got all that craziness going on. You can't be in my space. If I'm creating all of this peace here, then like I need some peace to come up in here. Like you got to add to this peace that I done found and and put into this space. But I feel like that's the importance of not having so much dysfunction in your home, because you're, as a man, you're supposed to be able to come home, and then that woman makes you feel safe and you can let your guard down and not feel like you're coming home and the world's in your house, you know?
This is correct. Okay, so do I'm just painting a picture.
Okay.
Do we leave in every instant where we don't get that? I asked that because you said something earlier, and I'm about to say something too. Earlier, you said naturally I will be softer if my man is being emotionally available for me. If he's vulnerable, if he's being these things for me that I need, I'll be softer, right?
Yeah.
You've said this, and I've said this as well. However, like, we are who we attract. So why be in the situation where you're not getting that at all? You are going to be who you are, regardless of, you should be who you are, regardless of whoever's in the picture.
Yep.
And if you are anything different, they're just exposing you to you. They're just exposing another side that you didn't see yet.
Yeah.
So if you're not as soft with me, then maybe you shouldn't be here with me. And I say that to say, if we treated our household like that all the time, if I'm not getting what I need to flourish in to be the best me, should I leave? But because we're never going to get that all the time, though. Like, how do we balance that? Is this even possible?
Yeah, I feel like, but that's the difference between these relationships where you're kind of at war with yourself. I feel like that's the reason why you have to become better. I feel like that's the reason why we have to really work on ourselves. We don't have to be perfect to show up in a relationship, but we do have to have a good understanding of who we are, what we know about ourselves. That whole self-discovery phase is so important because I feel like that's where you start setting your boundaries. Like, I give it to you like this. If I had done this much work on myself prior to getting into a marriage, my whole life would be completely different right now. You know, I had to go through everything that I went through to get to this point of clarity, you know, of self-acceptance, of self-discovery. Now that I know better, I'm going to do better. I'm going to make better choices. Now, if I end up in a situation again, after all that I went through, who the fool? Clearly, I ain't trying to learn a lesson, you know?
Yeah.
So I just feel like now that I know better and now that I know more of who I am, because I didn't know myself back then when I was in that relationship. I had an idea of who I was, you know, my character was intact and all of that. But the level that I know myself now and how aware I am, I wasn't that at all. So I could go for darn near anything and think that it would be better than, you know, where I was or what I was coming from a previous relationship, you know. So I don't know. I just feel like now I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know exactly what works for me. And I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting that, you know, flexibility obviously is necessary. But at the same time, I have a better idea of what I know actually matches me. And I know that, and I can say that with confidence because I am working on being the best version of myself. I'm loving myself so good that I'm not going to even let my guard down for a person that's not going to even show up that way. And if you show up pretending, or if you show up with your representative with your mask on, that mask can only hang on for but so long. And your words have to always be backed by actions. So if you talking all that good stuff, love bombing and saying all of the right things, but you ain't doing half of what you're saying, or you're not even available or capable of giving me the love that I deserve, then bye.
Okay. Even if you get attached, you can say bye like that.
I ain't gonna say it's that easy.
I'm just curious because it's like that be sounding good, but you know, it's easy to say bye to somebody that you don't like. The moment you get to liking somebody, you know, they say you make time for somebody you like. You like somebody, now you making excuses for them. We doing the same thing that you was doing before. And it's like, shit.
But that's the thing. I don't want an attachment. I want a healthy love that evolves. Like, so this is the difference in me now. Like, I'm doing for me regardless of who is around. Like, for instance, it's so funny. I hopped in the shower, I get out, I put my little smell goods on, and then I smile because I was like, I love that I'm doing this for me. Like, I ain't got no dude, but I'm still gonna make sure I smell good because I want to smell good for me. You know, like, I just feel like what I'm doing now, it's what makes me happy. I'm not doing stuff just to attract someone. I'm not becoming somebody else just so somebody could pay me attention or look my way. I'm just being me. And if I attract you and I find you attractive, then let's see what we can do. But I'm not trying to like go out of my way to impress anybody. And I'm not going to be anything other than me. Like, so I don't know. I just feel like I'm not trying to be attached. I'm not trying to be dependent. I'm not trying to have no trauma bond with nobody. I done been down them roads before. Like, I want a healthy love that's not dependent to the point where if you're not in front of me, I'm going to lose my whole world. But that also takes having that deep level of self-love, you know, like
maturity. Because I ain't gonna lie.
Yes.
Them trauma bonds feel good when it's
They do. They do. Oh man, they do.
You get the trauma bonding with somebody like, oh shit, like you too? Yeah. Nah, hell no.
That is so true. But it's nice when you can have that, common shared experience, but it has to be more than just that's keeping you there, you know? Like, yeah, it's like we gotta love each other, right?
No,
You know, like
yeah, like I need, like my favorite thing is that Cardi B song. Be careful with me, and I want to be careful with you too. You feel me? Like, let's be
yeah,
careful with each other. Like, I don't want
yeah,
to just be up here just jumping. Next thing you know, we in something that we liking somebody that we don't even really like for real.
right. And you
Like,
forcing it. Man, let me tell you, I look back on my life, and I don't know if it's a thing when you hit 40 or what, but I feel like I'm in my 20s, but just with more wisdom. Like I literally feel I love 40s. I love this whole era. But it's wild because I can seriously look back on my life and see situations that I just was like, I'm bored. Yeah, fine. You know, like now I don't play with myself like that. I'm not even gonna put myself out there like that. Like I'm not gonna entertain someone just out of boredom. I'm not gonna entertain you just if I'm entertaining you, it's because I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious, but I'm not gonna force fit any shoes. Like I'm just not. I'm in a different space now in life. And I feel like that's a lot of times why, you know, people end up in the relationships they end up in. Either growing or you wasting your time.
That's a
And
fact.
I'm trying to grow.
I'm trying to grow. Hey, I'm trying to grow. Like, I'm trying to be better. Oh man, facts. Nah,
Yes,
that's a fact.
yes. Listen, this has been such a great conversation, Jay. Thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can tune into your podcast and find you on YouTube and Instagram.
Mr. J Hill on Instagram. I mean, everything is Mr. J Hill. So like whatever, Mr. J Hill podcast, Mr. J Hill YouTube, Mr. J Hill Patreon, everything.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This was a special edition of the Self Challenge. You're actually my first guest that I've had on since I started doing the series. Normally, I
it's lit.
Yeah, this was really good. So I appreciate you coming through, and it was a great conversation as always. And we'll have to definitely do it again.
Nah, facts. I'm here, man.
For sure. All right, y'all have a good night. Be safe. The Self Challenge on Tea with Monique is powered by Mila Eve Essentials and the Redefined Me community.